Hey everybody, back again to do another catch-up video just to get you to where we're at kind of along the way. We've got
Dallas
a
is here.
guest here. We've got Dallas with us. Um, we're taking you for a tour around the estate here. The master bedroom is behind us. We're in a fifth wheel trailer. We're actually sitting on steps. Um, what we're going to talk about today is actually this trailer and our truck and kind of how we ended up making that choice. The last video was about our land and kind of how we ended up there. And that, like as I said, there were a couple times where there were a few setbacks along the way. You know, assumptions that we made that weren't right, or maybe things that the numbers don't always work out the way you think. Land in certain places that I thought we might go, you know, was more expensive than you might think, and it looks like maybe you can't do what you thought you were going to do, but everything worked out on the land choice. So we had a similar experience with. Oh, she's on the move. We had a similar experience with our with finding a truck and a trailer. So we had.
It worked out really well.
Yeah, we're super happy with the way things worked out, but along the way, there were a couple points where we weren't sure if things were going to work out the way we wanted them to. But we had two cars, you know, in our other life, a little Honda Civic, which we actually still have, and a Prius, which we loved, but you know, it didn't make sense or it didn't make sense to have two cars, and we knew we wanted to live probably temporarily. When we first started making some of these choices, you know, we knew it was going to be a trailer of some sort. We didn't know if it would be a fifth wheel, just a bumper tow trailer, or there was some other option. There was another kind of thought we had. I can't even remember what it was, but anyway, part of the problem, I guess the question was size. You know, how big would it be, and what would that require? I guess the other thing we were kind of not sure about when we started this thought process on how to live temporarily. We didn't know if we'd get whatever we got and maybe get it because we didn't have a truck at the time to pull it. We didn't know if we'd get something delivered to our land and maybe not worry about pulling it because we didn't really intend to drive around in it. We just wanted it to sit. We may or may not use this in the future, and we have the ability to tow it now as an RV that will tow around while we travel. But at the time, you know, we weren't sure how we were going to do that. And, you know, we were looking on Craigslist and things at what we could do. And the hard part about it, the reason, again, it was a little bit of a setback and we weren't sure if things were going to work or we were going to be able to do it, the timing of everything, you know, with getting, when you're trying to buy these things off of Craigslist, you know, you see a trailer maybe you like, but it's a certain size, and you're like, well, do I have to get it delivered? Or if I wanted a truck, what kind of truck would I need? How big would that truck have to be to tow it? And, you know, we were finding trailers of all different sizes. We were finding some really big ones and some fairly small ones. So it was difficult. Oh, I know what the other option was. An RV. What's a, you know, like a class A.
Oh,
you know,
a motorhome.
A motorhome. So that was one of the other options. We've had travel trailers in the past. We've never had a motorhome. So the nice thing about the motorhome was, you know, it had its pluses and minuses. The motorhome, we thought, okay, we won't have to worry about getting it there. We can drive it there, right? We don't have to buy a truck to tow it. We don't have to hire someone to tow it there for us. We can just drive it there as long as it's in good enough condition to drive once. So that was a plus. But a minus was, well, do you really want, if all we're planning on doing is sitting it here and living in it for a while, do we really want an engine? So that was a little scary, and it was like, you know, are we paying for an engine, and then after a year or two of living in it while we figure out what we're going to do, does that then just become a problem? Yeah, so there were a lot of things that were, you know, and it was hard to make that all come together, and it, you know, as we're looking at each of the things, you know, we would look at trucks separately and trailers separately, and you might see something you like here, but then you go, well, what do I do about the other part of it? So we went one day to a small lot in Apache Junction.
It was a guy that we saw on Craigslist that had a trailer for sale, and we got to the parking lot. Remember, it was a tiny little.
Oh, we met a guy.
It wasn't even the right trailer.
We met a guy at a storage facility
Yes.
for RVs, and he misunderstood. I guess he was selling multiple
He said,
vehicles.
that trailer's gone.
And he showed us a tiny little, camper. And that was one of the days that we decided to go out looking, and it turned out to be kind of a bust. And just on a whim, there was an RV dealership or a small car lot, a little bit of both, in Apache Junction, and we were out in that kind of area. So I said, well, I had seen a motorhome on their website, and I thought, well, let's just go look at these motorhomes and see if it is really something we want to consider. So we went there, and we looked at the motorhome and pretty quickly decided it wasn't for us, really. But as we told the guy who owned the place what we were doing, he said, well, what about this fifth wheel over here? And I said, well, I wasn't really including fifth wheels in my search at the time because I've never had a fifth wheel. I didn't know, I didn't want that extra kind of figuring out. Again, it's hard enough to figure out what kind of truck we were going to need, but I know a fifth wheel needs a special hitch in the back, and I didn't know much about it and everything, so I hadn't really included them. And he said, well, go look at this fifth wheel over. So we looked at this fifth wheel. It was this one, and we really liked it. It's
and it
good
has
size. It has a slide out. Fifth wheel is nice.
He's 6'3".
I'm sort of tall, so the tall ceiling as you go up into the bed area is actually really nice, and it makes it feel a lot bigger. So we liked that, but I said, that's great. I told the guy, I said, that's really nice, but I don't have anything to tow it with. And he said, well, I've got the vehicle out here to tow it. And he laughed, and I kind of laughed. I thought it was sort of a joke. I thought it would be, way out of our price range or be a piece of crap or whatever. And it happened to be a Ford F-250, nice looking truck with a nice fifth wheel hitch in the back of it.
Leather interior.
And the price, it's used, but it was a nice truck, and the price was shockingly right. So the price of both the trailer and the truck were reasonable, so we kind of just stumbled into this after a bad experience of trying to look at something.
But we also had a mechanic look at the truck, and he said it was worth a lot more than what we paid for.
I asked our mechanic beforehand, before I went there, if he had any reservations about that particular truck, and he said, no, that sounds great. And we took it to him actually after we bought it and asked him to check it over. And he said it's in fantastic shape, and he said, I know somebody who'll give you more than you paid for it right now, but that's nice, but we also need a nice truck, so we were just happy that we got a good truck that's in good shape. But anyway, that's just, the story is that we kind of lucked into this setup. There was several times where I didn't think we'd be able to make all of those decisions happen at the same time, because coming from nothing and needing the ability to tow and the thing you're going to tow, or to make the decision of whether it was a towable thing or a drivable thing, that was really difficult for a while. It was hard to see how we were going to make that all happen, and we just kind of stumbled into this setup of these two things at the same place. They went together really well, and we have towed it a few times before we took it here, and it's just been sitting on our land since we got here. But like I said,
and we drove the truck back and forth.
Yeah, the truck's been doing
Tucson
great. We've gone back and forth
Chandler.
from the land to the house in Chandler. We didn't actually, it took us a couple of months to sell the house, so we've made several trips back and forth, and the truck's doing great. And we may choose, after we move out of this trailer into a house that we build, we may travel with this trailer. We may keep it as just a kind of overflow for guests and things.
We definitely want to renovate it.
We'll do some remodeling. I mean, it's
anyway.
not perfect, but it's not bad. I mean, it's about 15 years old, but it's decent. It's livable. We actually have a couple of projects that we've already started doing. One that I was working on today that we'll talk about in a future video. It had some bunk areas, which we've actually had one like that in the past, and what we found is, unless you've got kids, they're really not all that usable. So even when we first saw it, we knew we didn't need the bunks, but that's storage space. So that was one of the things we knew we were going to do, and I did a quick and dirty kind of update over the last couple of days, and we'll talk about that one in a future video. But that's how we got into the trailer we're in. It was just a stroke of luck, really. Again, there were a couple times where it looked like things wouldn't work out, and it worked out really well, and we've been very happy with both the truck and the trailer that we got. So And the truck's nice for the land too. That was another little bonus, added bonus. We've got a wash to get to our land, and the truck is 4-wheel drive, and it's a nice big truck. So everything worked out great. So we've been real happy. That's it for this one, I think. That gets us mostly almost caught up to kind of the big decisions we made to get to this point.
It's getting pretty late here, and
Yeah, so we're going to sign off, but let us know if you have any questions. Like, subscribe, comment, share, and
thank you
let us know what you
to
think. And
everyone that already has.
thanks for watching, and thanks everybody for helping. We'll talk to you soon.